What is up, everybody? Welcome back to RacingDudes.com, and welcome back to our betting tips videos. Last week we did Saratoga, as Saratoga had opening day. So this week we will do Del Mar, as Del Mar has their opening day coming up this weekend. Well, we'll kind of theme it the same way. 5 talking points here. How does the dirt track play? How does the turf track play? Trainers, jockeys, and then kind of prices to look for in specific races and things like that. All right, dirt track. Hey, huge surprise. It plays to speed. Literally every dirt track in this country, minus maybe 2 or 3 random ones, you want to be on or near the lead, right? If you want to win a dirt race the easiest way. Not saying the closers can't win. If the closers are the best in this in the races and they get the pace set up, they certainly can win. But mostly speed on the dirt track at Del Mar. Not saying you have to go gate to wire. That's definitely not the case, but you need to be up within a couple of links to really have the best chance to win. So once again, dirt track, Del Mar, look for speed. Now, let's go to point number 2, because point number 1 was very easy. But point number 2, I think it gets a little bit trickier when you talk about this turf track. I think it plays fair. I think, if anything, it favors horses from coming off the pace more than it does speed horses. Again, I won't label it like a bias, so to speak, because you have seen really good horses take fields gate to wire there. But man, coming off the pace, it's at Del Mar on the turf track, not such a bad thing at all. So I would definitely keep an eye on that throughout the meet. I think, horses coming from out of it, closing from the clouds, you see it a lot on this track. Also, the turf track, the 5.5 furlong races, or the 5 furlong races they'll do at Del Mar. Again, I think coming a little bit out of it makes the most sense. I see that happen a lot more here than, let's say Saratoga. So coming from off the pace on the turf track, not the worst thing. I'll label it as a fair track, but again, I think closers have a much better chance here than they do at some of the other tracks when you're talking about coming from off the pace on the turf. So a little bit more of a fair track there for the turf. All right, let's go to the trainers, and obviously the unquestioned, leader of the pack here will be Bob Baffert. Not saying he'll win the meet. He actually did not win the meet when it comes to wins. But when it comes to betting, when Baffert enters one, you got to take a look. Obviously, the 2-year-olds are going to be his big thing once again. He wins a bunch of 2-year-old races. He's going to win them at short prices. There are times you can take shots against him. For the most part, you kind of got to use his horses in those 2-year-old races. One big thing I will say, whether it be 2-year-old stakes or 2-year-old maidens, don't be afraid to play the other Bob Baffert entry. He'll have multiple horses in this. Even if that entry doesn't make a ton of sense, on paper, I should say, don't be afraid to play the other Bob Baffert. That's an angle where you can make money with Bob Baffert. He's been known to do that in the past. He's been known to win races in the past with his other entries, especially here at Del Mar with 2-year-olds. So keep that in mind. Of course, D'Amato on the turf, that's obviously a big one. It doesn't matter what the level is. D'Amato on the turf is always going to be tough, so keep an eye out for his horses. He'll have a bunch up here. He'll be ready to win. There's no doubt. Doug O'Neill is another trainer that really does well here. Early in the meet, he usually has those horses ready to roll, so look out for Doug O'Neill early in the meet. I don't know what it is, but usually he'll come out and win 3 or 4 that first weekend here at Del Mar. So keep an eye on O'Neill, and keep an eye with his 2-year-olds. He usually has a couple of 2-year-olds that'll win. Sometimes they're a little bit bigger prices. He can challenge Bob Baffert with a couple of his. So keep an eye on Doug O'Neill. He's a sneaky one. And then finally, Peter Miller. Look, in all races, he's tough up here. Down here, I should say. He likes to win races. He's a local that he really wants to win down here at Del Mar. It's very important to him. Claiming races, he'll have him ready to fire. There's no doubt about it. So keep an eye out for Peter Miller as well. And then Mark Glatt will be the last one I mentioned. He's another one that I don't think you're going to see him in the high levels, but in those claimers or kind of those lower level allowance races, Glatt will have his horses ready to fire down at Del Mar as well. So a lot of different things, a lot of different angles actually from a trainer standpoint. So keep an eye on kind of what I've talked about there with point number 3. Point number 4, let's go to the jockeys, and it is a solid young colony. They don't have the huge names. All those guys seem to be at Saratoga for the summer, but Frezu, Rispoli, Hernandez, Maldonado, Those are the guys you need to look for. Hector Barrios as well. I don't want to forget him. Barrios has done a good job out in California. Hernandez will be the top rider for Bob Baffert as far as the local guys go. So, obviously Hernandez will be tough for that. Rispoli, look out for him on the turf. He has a lot of good turf mounts. He rides that course extremely well. He's a jockey that's very good coming off the pace. Kind of goes hand in hand, right, with that Del Mar turf course that we talked about a little bit earlier. Look out for Edwin Maldonado on the speed horses. He's definitely a guy that is a very good speed rider, so make sure you keep an eye out for that angle as well. And then finally, obviously, when Flavian Pratt comes calling, he will come here for some of the bigger weekends. When he comes, obviously, that elevates, right? I mean, he will be the best jockey in that room when and if he shows up at Del Mar. So for the bigger weekends, you will see, Flavian Pratt come in. Probably going to see a little bit of Joel Rosario as well. He usually comes in and does decent at this meet as well. So those are two guys for the bigger days to keep your thoughts with, or keep your thoughts on, I should say. And then finally, point number 5, with Saratoga, we talked about don't be afraid to play the favorites. The favorites come in more than you think. Saratoga has a lot of hype of being this graveyard of champions, which it is, but that doesn't mean it's the graveyard of favorites. This place, Del Mar, kind of the graveyard of favorites. Don't be afraid to take chances here. This is not a chalky track. There's no doubt about it. Over the years, I've kind of noticed the bigger bombs come in the turf sprint races here. I don't know what it is. And I'm not saying, again, if a favorite looks great, maybe just play it. It's not impossible for a favorite to win on the turf sprints, but boy, I've seen a lot of big bombs come in on these turf sprints. So make sure to keep that in the back of your mind. And the 2-year-old maiden claiming races and the 2-year-old Calbred races, keep an eye on those two. I don't care how good a horse might look, might mix a long shot or two in there that you like. It just seems like bombs come in those races all the time. And I would just definitely keep an eye on that, because those are over time, those bigger prices have come in those kinds of situations. So, all right, that'll do it for the betting tips for Del Mar as we kick off the meet. Going to come up Saturday here. By the way, is this maybe the best Saturday of the year so far, minus Triple Crown racing? You got Del Mar opening day, you got Saratoga, and you got Haskell Day at Monmouth. Wow. I mean, again, other than Triple Crown races, can't get much better than that. So it's going to be pretty awesome. All right, that'll do it for our betting tips for Del Mar. Hit the like button if you like the video. Hit subscribe if you really like it. Want to get alerted anytime we do videos like this. And most importantly, guys, good luck if you're betting Del Mar this meet.